What's one of the dumbest things you've ever spent money on? Chef Boyardee beefaroni. One summer, because I was hella bored, I bought some Chef Boyardee beefaroni and put it in my friend's mailbox as a prank. He didn't find it, but his parents did, and they asked their neighbors who did it. He suspected me at first, but I managed to get him off of my tail. Now our neighborhoods were fairly close to each other, so I could be over there in a 50-minute walk. Every night, I walked up to their neighborhood. Walking anywhere at 2 AM is creepy as hell, but the Boyardee bandit does not stop for demons, and put a can of beefaroni inside their mailbox. After about a month, they called the police to find out who's putting beefaroni in their mailbox. Luckily the police really didn't care that much, and just told them to get a camera, which they eventually did. Meanwhile my friend is telling me all of this from his perspective. Right, so I usually know what they do before I strike. So I start covering my face and pretend to hunch over. I have no idea where this camera is, so I can never be too careful. They call the cops again and give them a profile. And now the cops are looking for a crippled beefaroni bandit. After a solid 3 months of this shit, one of the baggers at the store gets word somehow and starts getting suspicious because he sees me buying tons of beefaroni. He confronts me. I tell him the truth, and, I shit you not, he starts helping me beefaroni my friend's house. We're putting it all over, hiding it in the lawns, porch, fence, you name it. Halloween rolls around, and I dress up as Chef Boyardee. I go to my friend's house and say, your daily subscription to Chef Boyardee beefaroni has ended. Would you like to renew? I hear laughter in the background, and it's the store clerk. Turns out, he recently started dating best friend's sister, and that's how he heard. Truth be told, I don't think I've ever been punched harder than when my friend found out. Good times. We still laugh about it from time to time. TLDR. Bought and hid Chef Boyardee beefaroni for nearly half a year around my best friend's house. The beefaroni bandit strikes again. When I was like 14, I bought a pack of intentionally mismatched socks that were really expensive. Like, only one of each pattern. Could have bought twice as many normal socks and just mismatched them myself. I did this too, but to make it worse, I bought 2 packs so that I could match them. This is some galaxy brain shit right here. When I went on a school field trip to Washington DC back in middle school, I bought a $2 bill at a souvenir shop for $20 SMH. I was drunk and bought Monster Ballads off an infomercial, and I paid an extra $20 for rush delivery because I was drunk and needed it ASAP, and it showed up a month later. I've always wanted to meet someone who bought music off an infomercial. This is a big thrill for me. My sister bought one of those. Now that's what I call music CDs. Actually had some cool tunes on it and played it on our stereo. Then Napster and LimeWire kicked in and we couldn't give a single F about it. A copy of Cory in the House for the Nintendo DS, except for $30 in 2019. Edit. Math gang antics involved. I was just a few weeks out of basic training and bought one of those family lineage with the shields on it and description. I blew $500 or so bucks just to find out it wasn't even accurate. I spent $40 one of those amusement park booths where you had to throw darts at balloons. For some reason, I picked out this really ugly 7 feet tall frog stuffed animal. It's in the corner of my closet and still scares me when I'm half awake in the morning. I had one of those from Six Flags. I won it early in the day, and my dad was so pissed. I named his froggy MZ Hopperstein and kept him for over 10 years. My mom finally got rid of him, saying she couldn't spare that much space for him anymore. RIP. Here's the deal. When I was in 8th grade, my class went on a field trip to Six Flags. I played the ring toss game, where you had to toss the rings on the bottles. I won on my first bucket and picked out a 6-foot stuffed whale. This was at like 9 in the morning and I had to now carry this with me all day. A couple hours later, I played the ring toss again and won again. So this time I picked out a 5-foot stuffed dog. Now, as a 90-pound 8th grader, I couldn't carry both of these with me, so I enlisted a friend and we carried them around and had to leave them at every single ride we went on. They were heavy, Finally a guy asked me if he could buy the dog, and I told him sure, for $50. Took that money back to the ring toss game, and lost all of it. The whale was cool, but I never did anything with it, other than having it just sit in my room. Worth it, because I was king of the ring toss. I bought a make-it-yourself music box with a series of cards to punch out the notes and then insert so you can play whatever tune you want. Thought I could make my GF a special gift, then I realized that I can't read music, and when I tried to punch it by ear, it sounded bloody awful. I once went to a novelty thrift shop that had a ton of random shit, ended up spending $10 on a framed picture of Count Dooku, Darth Sidious and Jango Fett from Star Wars. Since my GF thought it was funny, the frame recently broke, and I found out, after seeing the back of the picture, it was from a calendar. When Attack of the Clones came out, someone just cut this picture out of an old calendar, put it in a frame, and my dumbass voluntarily spent $10 on it. I'd had a few drinks, TGIF, and wandered into a Williams-Sonoma store in a state of euphoria. There I saw a special edition KitchenAid stand mixer made in bronze. That was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. It was on sale for $999. Naturally, I bought it, but because I'm a single guy who doesn't bake, it's just taking up much needed counter space. A pocket fussy. It was back when me and my wife were still dating. We were out of town for a concert, a festival, or maybe just the weekend, and there was this big, heavily advertised and kinda posh adult shop just a block or two down the road from our hotel. The last day of our trip, we didn't have anything planned, so we ended up going into this shop. They had a whole floor devoted to dildos and vibrators, and my wife found one she really liked. I started joking around about how they have all these toys for women and nothing for guys, and one of the shop employees overheard. He brought us up to the third floor and showed us this largish section that was all F toys. It was like 4 whole rows, each one 20 feet long, packed to the brim with silicone fussy. They had feet with fussies, hands with fussies, tits with and without fussies, headless and limbless torsos, mouths of all variety, and a whole line of head to toe, life-size F dolls. Most of it was really expensive, but I managed to find this one that had a glove attached to a fussy and a hole for like $40. So I bought it. We paid for our purchases and went back to the hotel to have fun. My wife really liked her toy, and after a while she asked if I wanted to use mine. I thought about it for just a second and then said, no. We had our fun, packed up the next morning and left. I stuck the pocket fussy on our coffee table to mess with some friends who were coming over the next day. After the friends left, it ended up in the back of our closet and stayed there through a move and more than a decade, until my 6-year-old found it last November. The blanket that makes you look like a giant burrito. It was super thin and of poor quality, not to mention not big enough to cover me. Now I'll never look like a burrito. As an owner of this burrito blanket, yes, it is small, but it is very soft and very comfortable. I think there's more than one on the market. I'm betting yours is better than mine. After it went viral, a ton of Chinese factories started pumping these things out. Wish and AliExpress are full of them. A lot of are pretty terrible quality. There was this guy named Don LaPre who sold money making kits, like how to make money with classified ads. I think I invested about $350 and received literally nothing of value. I was young, and being stupid. Looked him up tonight to remember how to spell his name. Turns out he killed himself with a razor blade while in jail in 2011. I have to say, his TV commercials were very convincing. Thankfully at the time I was young and broke, so I couldn't pay for his nonsense. If I had enough room on my credit card, I would have. I finally figured out that he implied lots of income, but the testimonials only talked about revenues. I bought a pager. The clip snapped. I took it to where I bought it. We only cover the pager, not the case. I walked outside right in front of the window and spiked the shit out of it. Walked back inside and said, my pager is broken. Did it work? after I returned it. Yay. I was pretty high one night and bought a pull net handle, one of the 16-foot metal ones, in order to turn off the living room lights from the couch. Edit. Added these as a comment but it got buried. Sorry I've been sleeping, haha. I'll try and answer all the questions I've seen. Most importantly, it does work. It's heavy when fully extended, but there's a rail I can balance it on between me and the light. Takes a bit of practice. I also do remember thinking about getting smart lights, but honestly I'm renting this house and it's a wall switch, so I didn't want to take it apart to make it smart. For $25, I can't say I regret this one. It sits behind my couch in a little gap, so it's not too much of an eyesore. I haven't broken anything yet. Emphasis on yet. I'm sure I will. No, I don't have a pool. Edit 3. I didn't buy smart bulbs and won't in the future because it's 10 bulbs on racks. Cheap, easy, and I was high. I was 11 and my dad gave me $50 to spend at the mall, so I wandered into a gift shop and spent it all on an electronic vibrating oinking pink pig. I never played with it after I brought it home. Tried to return it, only to be offered store credit. You taught your father a valuable lesson in financial responsibility. Most expensive dumb thing, a Mercedes 500 SEL. Literally bankrupt myself buying parts and gas for that effing land yacht. Sold it for half what I paid and felt lucky to be rid of it. Dumbest dumb thing, a metallic, gold laden painting of a Pontiac Firebird. It oozes white trash and I had planned on putting it in a family gift exchange as a joke, but didn't end up going and got stuck with it. It's currently hanging in a storage room like all classy paintings do. When I was 19, I got a construction job that paid fairly well. Stupid me got all hot and horny for a fun car. I signed up for a 5-year loan. After test driving the first one, I ended up having engine failure almost 2 years later because it was a used car and from a shady used car dealer. The warranty was well expired. I couldn't afford to get a new engine for it, so I ended paying over 3 years for a car that I wasn't driving. Edit. Since I've been getting messages and replies saying, "It's your fault, you didn't maintain the car." That car was my baby. I worked on it every day and loved it for the short period of time I had it. Now, this car had what is called a wankel rotary. These are not reliable engines. The apex seals blow, as they are basically as thick and durable as the graphite in a pencil. Mazda RX-8s are notoriously unreliable. I did not know this 8 years ago, as I hadn't done much research. The more ya know. If you want to prove how tough you are, this is not the place. I do not care. I had fun with my car and learned a lot from the experience. And if you think this is the dumbest thing I have ever done, you're very wrong. Edit 2. Thank you for the gold, kind stranger. I wish I could turn it into money to soften the financial blow of this vehicle, but alas, Reddit Premium is a close second. Big wedding. All that money could have helped so many problems we had later. Divorced anyway. This past Christmas Eve, I was doing some last-minute shopping and came across a wine glass shaped like Buddy from the movie Elf, which of course also had Will Ferrell's face on it. With everything kinda being out of order with the holiday rush, I didn't know how much it cost, but I bought it on pure impulse because I thought it was funny. It wasn't until I left the store and looked at the receipt did I realize that it cost $22, which is way more than it's worth. To remind me of my mistake, I now drink out of that glass exclusively and have been for the past 5 months. I have to wash it like twice a day, but I won't stop using it until I feel like I've gotten my $22 worth. I bought a cat eye stencil off Amazon that's supposed to help with liquid eyeliner application because my hands are shaky and didn't check the reviews. It's a crappy piece of plastic shaped like a cat that breaks really easy, apparently. I wouldn't know. I bought it a week ago, drunk, and it's shipping from China with an estimated arrival of the 27th of July. Edit. Literally saved every bit of advice for my attempts tomorrow. Thanks all. OMG, I bought that thing last year. It's such a stupid product. Tried it twice before giving up. Turns out huge cat-shaped pieces of plastic don't exactly fit into the corners of hooded eyes. Both times, I looked like I'd let my dog try to do my makeup. A Himalayan salt lamp. Useless, but aesthetically pleasing. I have one in my kid's bedroom. It has a great dimmable switch that can be turned way low, and it becomes a very pleasant warm glowing night light for my children. I go in and turn it off after they've fallen asleep. I think it looks cool. Also, my kids lick the thing sometimes. My friends and I randomly decided to get into paintballing one year. My first visit to a paintball shop. I apparently felt like flexing my brand new I have a job and no bills because I live with my parents' income. So I dropped about $400 on a paintball gun that looked like an AK-47. The way a Nerf pistol looks like a Glock. We did a few practice fights with each other, then went to a paintball field that weekend. The bell rang. The fight started. I ran out, aimed at a guy, gun jammed, and I got shot in the head, just above the part my mask was covering. That gun never fired again, and I ended up replacing it with a cheap Tipman 98 Custom, which as far as I understand, is the vanilla sherbet of paintball guns. It worked, but we stopped paintballing forever after like 2 months. So I guess the second gun was also one of the dumbest things I spent money on. $10 plus delivery fee for a $6-8 meal. The one and only time I ever used DoorDash. Spent $40 something for 8 pieces of chicken. I ordered the 12-piece family meal since I just got out of the hospital and figured it could be no effort meals for 2-3 days. Ended up with no sides, no biscuits, and 2/3 of the chicken. They had the tracking thing showing, and everything was running right on time until the driver left the store and went north instead of south. Okay, no biggie. Figured they had other deliveries, but then it showed them in the same spot for almost an hour. They came straight from there to my house, claimed they got lost and couldn't find my house, claimed the store wouldn't give them the full order. At that time I didn't know the stores didn't know their DD. They are just a customer going through the drive-thru and told me to call the restaurant for a refund. So like an idiot, I call the store and they have no clue what I'm talking about. I try to contact DoorDash, but they just did an auto response of here's a $1 credit to your account. Not even back to my credit card, but toward a future order. And when I tried to contact them again, I got a pop-up saying the issue had been previously resolved, so it wouldn't allow for another complaint. I ended up disputing all but an 8-piece chicken only price, because by that time, I realized it was the driver who screwed me over, and not DoorDash or the store. That's the only time I've ever not tipped a delivery driver. A tiny alarm clock, smaller than my hand. It actually functions pretty well though, so it's a good travel alarm, as long people don't get suspicious about the ticking noise coming from your bag. Also a great way to hide the sound of the bomb inside your bag. Airport security officer. Actually, throwers don't worry about ticking, cause modern bombs don't tick. Narrator. Sorry, throwers, airport security officer, baggage handlers. But when a suitcase vibrates, then the throwers gotta call the police. Narrator. My suitcase was vibrating? Airport security officer. 9 times out of 10 it's an electric razor. But every once in a while, looks around, leans in conspiratorially, it's a dildo, leans back. Of course, it's company policy never to imply ownership. In the event of a dildo, we have to use the indefinite article, a dildo, never, your dildo. This thing, Suzanne Summers, was pitching on QVC at 3 AM 15 years ago to help avoid getting wrinkles on your face. I was up all crazy hours with a newborn at the time, so a bit delirious. It was some electrical impulse mini machine for approximately $150. Suzanne looked fantastic and said she hadn't ever had plastic surgery and had just used this little machine on her face her whole life. I believed it, spent the money, and when it arrived, 3 weeks later, I never even took it out of the box to use it. Paid $59 on a strapless adhesive bra. Edit. This is not really a bra, but more like 2 silicone cups with a sticky side. Most of those are worth $10.20. Mine was really sticky, but it offers absolutely no support, so it makes the bra absolutely pointless. FU La Senza. Expensive bras for a cheap quality. I bought a Kirby vacuum. They got me hook, line, and sinker. I've wasted money before, but this is one thing I always go back to, and I'm actually ashamed of. Like, I fell for their whole sales pitch. It was like $2,500 for a damn vacuum. I was on a payment plan for a vacuum. They have a shampooer attachment. It blows as a shampooer. You can take the handle off and use it on the stairs. It's still effing heavy and annoying. It has a transmission that makes it easier to go across the carpet, but when it decides not to play nice, it takes like 8 times the effort to get a room done. Oh, and the way the attachments works is a whole annoying ordeal. Please, for the love of everything holy and pure, go to Walmart and get a vacuum. You can replace a lot of carpet for what one of those Kirby abominations will cost you. Edit. Not Kirby, the fun-loving pink bubble from Nintendo that we all know and love. I just spent $250 on the 1989 Batmobile Lego set. Arrived today. Part of me is excited to build it. However, the other side just thinks, what are you doing? You're a 27-year-old man, spending money on Legos during a pandemic, but still excited to build tomorrow. Edit. Thanks everyone. I didn't know the Lego community was so genuinely nice and supportive. My answer really doesn't fit the question anymore. Haha. A sword cane with a snake head on it. The blade wasn't sharp, and I never used it. Just bought it to essentially look cool. Now I can't find it. Edit. As I read the comments, let me update. I bought it from a legitimate and legal magazine. I also bought it, not only because it looked cool, but because I wanted to look cool, like Lucius Malfoy's wand cane. I didn't really care that there was a sword in it. I just sunk around $7K in becoming a licensed massage therapist. Had my job a little over a year and was just starting to get pretty solid when suddenly I can no longer touch people or be within 6 feet of them. At least, I paid off my student loans in February. One of my closest friends is a radical minimalist and a zero waster. She believes in owning as few things as possible and, as best as she is able, existing outside of consumer culture. She's crazy, but in a lovable way. Anyway, last summer, we lived together in New England, and she decides she needs a new wardrobe and wants to donate her current clothing to purchase 1 or 2 items of clothing she will wear. She wants something really plain and modest, so she's not participating in fast fashion or supporting consumer culture. I figured she'd go for some thrifted simple blouse and skirt or slacks, but no. Oh no. She decided to spend upwards of $150 on a custom recreation of Maria's habit from The Sound of Music. None of us thought it was a good idea. It was a black, long sleeve dress, and it was regularly upwards of 90 degrees last summer. She does not heed our warnings, donates all of her other clothes. She's convinced this dress will change her life. This is what she needs to truly devote herself to the zero waste lifestyle. The dress arrives. She puts it on, and her face immediately crumbles. It fits, but it looks so stupid. It is obviously a costume and is made out of this heavy fabric that is wildly impractical to wear. She can't return it because it's custom. And, I'd like to reiterate, she donated all of her other clothes, but she's unwilling to wear it from the shame. She spends the rest of the summer wearing nothing but pajamas and borrowed clothes. Thankfully, she started growing out of that particular brand of insanity. She now owns like 5 outfits, I think, but I don't think I'll ever see someone waste their money like that ever again. A piano. Dumb, stupid, costly, and near worthless. But the ex-wife wanted a real piano for the kids because they would then practice on it. Bullshit. $3,500 for the piano, $4,000 in lessons, all for teaching them to hate playing the piano.